Thanks everyone for joining us. We'll go ahead and get started. Greg Hunter, you're up first.
So, Coach, give me just a look at the scout on Kansas. How are they different than normal, and how are they the same?
Well, they're the same because they're really good. They're just smaller. They're playing smaller, and it's different than having those two bigs that they've generally had. Spread you out a little bit more and really try to dribble penetrate.
John Antoniuk.
You mentioned smaller, but McCormick, he played pretty good against Texas Tech. He gives them a lot inside, doesn't he?
Yeah, but there's usually two of him. So, yeah, he does a great job for him, and I really like Lightfoot. He plays so hard. He's one of the guys that's always around the ball.
Real quick, Bill used a little bit of zone and probably won the game for him against Texas Tech. That's something new that he's doing a little bit of?
He played zone against us last year.
Okay, so he throws that in there a little bit?
I don't think he likes to, but he does.
Yeah.
Justin Jackson.
Coach, you were talking about how they like to spread you. They obviously, I think they do that with the three-point shot. Baji, Braun, very good three-point shooters. How much of a difficult, if they're going smaller, you're obviously a big lineup. How much of a difficult matchup is that?
Well, we've been doing it, so I think our guys, Derek in particular, has done a pretty good job of playing out on the perimeter when need be. They got to guard us too, so we're gonna have a bit of a size advantage, I think, for the first time in about 20 years.
Kevin Kinder.
This might be a little bit hard to predict, but will the atmosphere be different? Maybe a little bit easier since it's not full and quite as echoing, or have you talked to anyone about what their experience has been like there this year?
Well, we don't know it's not going to be full, do we? It seemed to me just on TV, and I know they maybe pump sound or something in there too, but TV does. But it seemed pretty loud to me on TV. Heck of a lot louder than where we are, except for the Richmond game, because those Richmond people were cheering like crazy down there.
John Antoniuk.
Without rehashing the Iowa State game, is there some value you can get out of winning a game when you didn't play your best and the other teams did play really well?
Yeah, I think the value is we won somehow. They did. They played really well, and we didn't play well. Didn't play well. Didn't shoot it well. Didn't do anything well. Didn't pass it well. Didn't guard well.
But did make winning plays at winning time. I think 10-2 run to finish the game.
Yeah, but that's what you're supposed to do. If you're going to be one of the better teams in this league, you better make some plays at the end of games. Kansas has done it for years. Texas Tech does a great job of doing it. Everybody in our league does.
Back to Greg Hunter.
So, Coach, you've talked about this before, but go over the maturation of Derek Culver, both, in terms of his game and then just in terms of him as a person. Especially start with his game and how you've gotten him to slow down from where he was last year when sometimes he's a little spastic.
Well, I think it all starts with just Derek. Derek, Derek wants to be a good player. You know, Derek wants to do things right. Derek really likes and enjoys his teammates, doesn't want to let them down. You know, Derek and I have developed a pretty close relationship. I mean, it's been a long time. I mean, we recruited him since he was a sophomore in high school. So you go sophomore, junior, senior year of high school, and then a year of prep school, and then what are we on? Year 3 here. So
Justin Jackson.
Coach, I don't want to put the cart before the horse, so to speak, on this one, but each program that has a special season, I guess that season kind of gets broken down into chapters, so to speak. What kind of chapter could be written here if you guys go into Kansas and pull off a win?
I don't know if it's a chapter. I mean, it might be, the list of the people they want to thank, as soon as you open the book before you get to reading. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
I mean, they beat us every year we've been in the league. So, I mean, I'd have a hard time writing a chapter.
John.
Is it safe to say your number one concern still with this team right now is stopping dribble drives, straight line drives to the basket? And are you still
Consistency, John, more than it is anything.
okay?
We have done that. We have done a pretty good job of it, and then there's times we haven't done that. But you can say that about our perimeter shooting. We've shot it extremely well. We've shot it very poor. And the thing that we were hoping we would get from, hey guys, the immortal truck Brian just walked in my office. We just haven't been consistent in much anything other than rebounding the ball. We have rebounded the ball pretty well, but I mean, we just haven't. We thought, those guys in year 2 would be way more consistent than they were obviously in year 1. But I mean, I think it's a lot of things. It's not just that. I mean, there's a lot of things that have led to us giving up too many points in the paint.
How's it helping? Is that part of it too, or is it just moving your feet and staying in front of your guy?
No, I mean, you got to help. I mean, you put anybody out there one-on-one, it's hard to keep somebody from driving. Yeah, you got to help. But I don't know that people are doing, it's kind of watching Dana Holgerson coach football, they're so spread that it's hard to cover all of them. And we haven't done as good a job as what we need to. I think we're certainly capable.
And these guys will do that tomorrow night.
Yeah, if we let them, they will.
Back to Greg.
So, Bob, do you like playing these conference games in December? Obviously, it's an abnormal year, but next year, if things go back to normal, do you want to continue league games this early?
Greg, we just wanted to play. I mean, we went through so much with cancellations, people dropping out. I mean, we just want to play. I'm not hung up on when we play. I mean, and we don't really have a say anyways. It's so TV driven that we're going to have to play whenever they tell us to play. I mean, we got 8, 9 o'clock games. Explain to me how that's in the betterment of the student athlete. I'm having a hard time with that. So we'll get back from we'll get back from Lawrence at about 4 a.m. So other people don't have to do that. And I think that's the thing that continually gets left out whenever they talk about our team, is what our team goes through. And because of everything that happened with the pandemic, we ended up, we played our first 5 road games on the first 5 games away from home. You know, and then, I mean, every trip for us is a long trip. Every trip for us, like a normal trip for us, everybody, the other 9 teams in the league would dread, because it's so far and it takes so long. I mean, I'm not going to say we're used to it, because it's hard to get used to, but it's rough, man.
Justin.
Coach, you mentioned points in the paint a few minutes ago, and I was going to ask you about is points in the paint, is that a stat you'll be keeping an eye on during the game? Is there any telling stat that you will be keeping an eye on during the game that will, let you know if, what's leading to success or not successful?
Jordan, I've done this long enough that if I have to refer to somebody telling me how many points in the paint and I can't see them driving by us, I probably need to get stronger glasses or retire. One of the two. I mean, that's pretty easy to
Right.
see. That's not a hard thing to see. We got these shot tracker things in here that they're supposed to give us, all that information on the bench.
And then one last one for me. Obviously, holiday comes up after this game. You had kind of talked earlier about making a decision, kind of going back and forth on letting guys go back home or not. Just wondering if you guys made a decision on that, going back home.
Well, I didn't have any problem with making a decision. I think they should be with their families.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's a shame if they can't be with their families. I mean, it's a time of the year from when you're a little kid until now that you're with your families every Christmas, and you ought to be. They ought to have an opportunity to do that.
You just keep your fingers crossed then in that instance with the pandemic and everything.
Justin, what are you going to do? I mean,
Right.
They get back to 26, we'll test them, and we'll test them again the next day, and then we'll test them again the next day, but these guys have been really, really good. Now, that's not to say that, one of their relatives may not have it.
Sure.
Right out loud, the president of the United States had it. I mean, we can't keep him safe. By God, we can't keep grandma safe either.
Right.
So, I mean, it is what it is, man. You deal with it.
Kevin.
One other thing on your shooting in general, do you have a target, in mind for what you'd like your team to shoot from the field and from 3-point range? And I know it's, obviously different depending on your position, but do you have an idea of, hey, if we can shoot this from the field, this from 3, we're going to be pretty successful?
Yeah, 100%. If we can shoot 100%, I think we'll win. I don't know. It's I mean, I think if you're shooting in the 40s and from 3, you're a really good shooter. And obviously our other guys, our inside guys, our dribble drive guys ought to shoot at least that clip or higher.
John.
Last one for me. Have you been paying attention to some of the results? I just saw Western Kentucky beat Alabama. Some of these other teams that you beat, BCU's having a little bit of a run. Some of these games you played are really going to help you down the road, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. Yeah, but I mean, all you had to do was watch Western Kentucky come out and warm up, and you knew this team's pretty good now. I mean, they've got a 7-footer who was going to be a first-round draft pick out of high school. They've got a 6 foot, whatever he is, 6'6" guy that can step out and shoot threes, who Derek says is the hardest guy he's ever tried to move. He said, Coach, I couldn't move him. And for Derek not to be able to move somebody, that's a strong dude now. And they got those two guys inside, and their guards are really good.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Rick's got a heck of a team.
These pickup games you got too were really helpful. Richmond's still winning. I mean, so pretty good, right?
Well, I mean, you know, Josh came to me and said, you know, who do we want to play? And I said, well, I don't want to play people that are going to hurt us. You know, I mean, I don't want to play the so-called bottom feeders and win by 40. It doesn't do us any good. I want to play people that, you know, at the end of the day, all the computer whizzes that are, you know, throwing things in the computer and coming out who ought to play who, where, when. And I just thought that our guys deserved a chance to play good people. And really surprisingly, we played good people out in South Dakota with everything that went on, with all the teams dropping out. And, you know, we had 4 scouting reports for our first game, 4 different scouting reports before we played our first game there. And she held it together and not just held it together, but it's like you said, I mean, okay, so they pick up VCU and Western Kentucky. They're good. They're going to win games.
Real quick, how do you strike that balance between getting the schedule you need to get where you want to be and not killing your guys and overexerting them?
I've never worried about killing them.
Getting them buried, built the confidence, killing their confidence.
Well, we're not very good, John. If we can't beat those people, we're not very good.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, so I think it's we certainly if we can't beat those people, we won't win a game in our league. So I don't see it as such.
Greg Hunter.
I asked Taz Sherman this the other day, and he had a good question. So I'll ask you the cardboard cutouts. Is Jay Jacobs right behind you? Does that bother you? And is it Jenna's dog that's back there too?
It's Jenna's dog. Yeah, it's Jenna's dog that's back there. That's kind of likes me. You know, it's one of the few people I can count on. You know, so and having 4 of Jay back there is way too much. I mean, 1 of Jay's too much, but 4 is crazy. And
Hey, Hugs, real quick.
They got him sitting beside all the good-looking girls too.
I just told him I bought Gene Simmons from Kiss. He's going right behind you for the next game.
Well, I was hoping I'd get Don Knotts, but he's way down on the other end.
Okay, last questions from Mike Casaza.
Hey, Bob, how's it going?
Good, Mike. How you doing?
Doing great. Hey, speaking of doing good, I was wondering if you had talked to James Long and what you thought about what his team did Saturday.
I did talk to James. Actually, I talked to James. He was driving the van on the way back from Morgan State. He was driving, and Peyton was the co-pilot. So I got to talk to both of them. Oh, he was excited. He was excited, and then Jared ends up smacking Northern Kentucky yesterday, pretty good, and and James was in that game. Actually, they led that game in the second half. So he's doing a terrific job, absolutely terrific job. But we all knew that he would. You know, when we tried to talk to Carolyn, you know, the president, about James getting a job, you know, and everybody was, he's so young, you know. Well, young and good don't necessarily go together. Young and good sometimes go together pretty damn good. And that's what I said, you know, I was young when I started. James been around basketball his whole life. And he's learned a lot of things. James Long, when he was little, I mean, he was little now. You think he's little now. You should have seen him then. He came to Cincinnati, stayed 2 weeks at Cincinnati with us, lifted with our strength coach. Jared Calhoun worked him out 3 times a day, and he couldn't get enough of it. So you know that he's going to be special. Just think if he'd have been 6'4".
I did that with myself quite often. So,
Well, Mike, you never had a shot, and you couldn't shoot like James either. So I've never seen you shoot, Mike, but I guarantee you don't shoot like James.
if he can throw a changeup, we could have a good competition.
If he could throw it, I think he was a baseballer too.
All right. One other thing you mentioned after the game, just being able to see your team in the warm-up line, and you didn't like what you saw. And you just mentioned Western Kentucky's layup line, and then I think you've said that you got guys who aren't happy on the bench. Pouting, I think, is the word you use too. As a coach who has some veterans and probably feel like you have a good handle on your guys, do you monitor those things? Do you keep them in your pocket before a game or after a game, or is it just stuff that happens and once the game goes, you have to do your job?
Well, the layup line thing, I think I fixed, because I said if it ever happens again, they're not getting in the game. So I think we fixed that part of it. I mean, guys want to play. I understand that. Believe it or not, Michael, Jody benched me a time or two. I didn't like it much, but it's part of it, part of growing up.
Coach, I think that's it. Appreciate your time today. Reminder to the media, after the game tomorrow, our next media session will be Monday, December 28th, prior to the Buffalo game. And that game is at 2:00 on Tuesday, the 29th. Thanks everyone for calling in. That concludes today's call.
Got it.